Defacto Live, and it's time to get together. It's time to talk about a few things. Unfortunately, my nose is a little plugged, so hopefully my voice won't sound too funny. Whatever. I'm here, and hopefully we'll have at least 20, 30 people, and we'll have a discussion. There's some things I want to talk about. There was a request in in the comments, and we're gonna address that. In fact, it's an important topic, and it has to do with a lot of things. Okay, it has to do with how these things are used against targets, and that would mainly be the people around you. Okay, the atmosphere, the environment that is around the targeted individual, and how people are used, how they are manipulated. Okay, the menagerie that is around the target, and it's serious. And somebody came in the comments and asked for some urgent help. They're dealing, with family members, and they're dealing with harassment. Okay, and that can get pretty intense. Okay, and when you're dealing with manipulation, when it comes to gang stalking, um, there are a lot of things that are just intense. Okay, you're talking about your most primal emotions, and there is a way that they get their fingers in there. Whatever you're dealing with, whether you're dealing with some type of government thing, or whether you're dealing with something that's demonic, and I believe that it's all demonic. Okay, but there are a lot of ways that it can manifest, and it's not just left to where the target is out there, floating around, dealing with abstract people who are attacking them with street theater, and directed conversations and all. I mean, that stuff is there. That stuff is used against targets. Okay, don't get me wrong. That's part of the environment that targets deal with. But when you're getting into the real nitty gritty, when you're getting in to the deep areas of emotional manipulation, okay, it's the people that are close to you. It is the labyrinth that is created around the target, and it starts when you're little. Okay, you have to consider the medium that that is used against the target. Okay, it's a basic equation. It's a fundamental reality. And it's, well, just think about it. If you were the one that was stalking or harassing someone, you're gonna use the props. You are going to use the characters with maximum effect. Okay. Play the devil's advocate if you want to. We'll just say that you want to, screw somebody's life up. Are you gonna you can get them in a fight with a neighbor? Okay, you could start some trouble there, right? You can start some trouble with some coworkers. Okay. You could it'd be like Changing Lanes, that movie with I think it was Cusack and Samuel Adams. I can't remember for sure. And they were people who ended up in a type of battle, you know, over some traffic stuff, and it turned pretty nasty. But if you really want to cause trouble, okay, it has to reach in to the center of someone's heart, their family, their relatives, their spouse, right? The social circle, that's deadly. Coworkers, yeah, that's a pain. It's definitely, but when it moves in to those intimate areas of a person's life, well, that's when it gets difficult. Okay, that's where the heartstrings start to get pulled. And if you can get them fighting, if you could get people to turn against each other, if you can divide and conquer on that platform, in that environment, and reign with that type of atmospherical tyranny, well, you got yourself a game then. Okay, you've got yourself some powerful characters for emotional manipulation. You've got the proper stimuli to take someone into an area where they're dealing with some pretty heavy stuff. And the person that asked me I do believe it was King Vampiro Chris. Okay, and he's dealing with it, man. I think it's a he. It could be a she. I'm sorry if I'm wrong about that. And I let them know that I was going to be doing this live, and I got the comment just a little while ago. And then, by the way, guys, if you guys need help and I can come on and do a live or whatever, I'll do it, man. I will address the issues that you are dealing with, uh, either in a video or in a live. And I don't have a problem with that. Hold on a minute, guys. I'm trying to get some stuff here. And for some reason, I forgot to get my reading glasses, and I'm looking for them right now. Oh, gosh. It's always something. I tell you. It's always something. Well, hopefully I'll be able to read the comments without it. Okay, whatever. They're somewhere. So that's what we're going to be looking at. That's what we're going to be dealing with. Hopefully King Vampiro Chris will show up. And it had to do with people pushing. King Vampiro Chris in the family scenario. There's different techniques that will be used against targets. We've talked about them. We talked about a lot of them, and it has to do with manipulating them. It has to do with pushing them into areas where they're going to get called out or accused or discredited or whatever. They become the scapegoat. They become the victim. Okay, there's a lot of things that happen. There are a lot of things involved. There are a lot of dynamics that are used to get targets in the place where they're isolated and they're put in that place of a scapegoat, and people attack them from all directions. And it's hard to deal with. You get frustrated, you get angry, you become fearful. And, specifically in a scenario like that, I think that the protocols of just realizing what is going on are very important. Okay. Realizing that becoming emotional about anything in the sense that you are out of control is something that breaks the protocol. Okay. As a targeted individual, you have to know that there are a lot of things that are being planned for you. There are a lot of things that are in preparation to be used against you, to manipulate you, to move you into different areas, to where you can be called out or accused or, discredited or bastardized in whatever way. And you have to remember that if you don't realize that, if you play into things, if you look at things as if they are legitimate as a target, you're in trouble. Okay. Because the game is manipulation. The name of the game is deception. And when you're getting played, man, when you're playing these games with these people, wherever it is, whether you're out in public, whether you're, at work, whether you're dealing with something in your family, whether it's with relatives, whatever is going on. However, they have been drawn into this, whatever is manipulating them, whatever the scenario you're in, you have to remember it's not legitimate. Both you and them are being manipulated. Okay. Got to remember that. Got to remember that, man, because, it's the invisible fingers behind the scenes that are pulling the strings, whether it's people in the government that are doing things or they're paying people. They're using their weaknesses against them. They're baiting them. They're causing trouble. They're stirring up the neighbors. They're using some type of disinformation campaign, whether it be at your workplace or your neighborhood or your family, whatever. That's the rumors. People are being deceived. They're being turned against you. They are being manipulated. The system of their faculties and perceptions that they use to navigate the world around them, the salient landscape of where you live, it has been hijacked. It is being used against them, and it is being used against the target. Okay. And that's one thing you have to remember right there and then, because a lot of games are going to be played. It's like dealing with a troll. Okay. You get online or something, and you're doing something, you make a video, whatever you're doing, if you're a content creator, or whether you're just trying to make a meaningful comment on an open forum. And someone comes in and they Yeah, and they criticize you or they say something else, and you could even take it to into the area of where it becomes personal. It's an ad hominem attack against you. Well, that's classic, isn't it? And why? Why do people do that kind of thing, right? Coincidentally, King Vampiro Chris, well, they're vamping. They are vampiring people, and they are doing it through emotional manipulation. There you are, you know, just trying to enjoy yourself, trying to have a meaningful interjection into some type of open forum or discussion or make a video that's about you or that's there to help other people. And you've got the menace, right? The hot and cold, the positive and negative charge, right? And they want to commandeer you. They want to get in your head, man. They want to take control of your emotions. They want to take control of the trajectory of your thoughts, right? And in that way, they're driving the boat, aren't they? And you're answering back, and they're sitting in their, I don't know, grandma's underwear behind a computer screen, laughing their ass off while you are, playing into all these little straw man arguments and everything. And let me show you how right I am. And they don't care. They have no commitment or real dog in the fight. They just want to get under your skin. They just want to control your emotions, right? Like Gorilla Boy when he comes in, he doesn't want to discuss anything. He doesn't care about anything. He just wants to get in your head. And if anybody wants to make videos for that guy or any other people like him, this basic troll, you're free to do whatever you want. But that's their power, is to get in your mind and for you to assume that you are dealing with a legitimate scenario. Okay, that you're dealing with someone who really has something to say, but they don't. They don't. It's all about the hijack. Okay. Not only are they being hijacked and manipulated to do something very unproductive, but you are a target as well. Let's get into the comments and see what we got going on here. Looks like we got quite a bit out there. Welcome, guys. Like I said, I don't have my reading glasses. So I'm going to try and do my best here. Okay. Rebecca, hi. Techno Kid. Yalda Boath. Some of these I can't pronounce. I don't know. And I apologize from Pamela. How you doing? Okay, and I'm not reading anything. I'm just looking to see who's in here. Derek. Okay, all right. Let's see. Azery Saint, welcome to the live stream. Okay, Tasha, good to see you. Okay, well, I see we've got a few people out there now. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Techno Kid says they've been watching us all along. Yeah, and there's a plan. We're predictable creatures. We are. Just picked up Wi Fi cameras, then it disappeared before I took the screenshot. I guess they thought it would scare me. And this is Rebecca. I actually laughed. Huh. No one near me has a camera, security cameras. Well, that's interesting, man. Dealing with some Bluetooth or something there. Oh, let's see. Okay, looks like Yalda Boath. I think I'm pronouncing that right, especially when I got into the esoteric occult stuff. My father wanted me to be careful with that stuff. I've learned is all important to know and understand it all. I'm not really sure where you're going up with that. It's important to be aware that there are things like that out there. I'm not quite sure. I might be kind of jumping around here randomly and not coherently understanding some of these comments here. And I just got a notification. Hi. Let me see. They want to provoke you to become upset. Absolutely, Pamela. That was on the topic. I'm glad when people follow along and make comments along with what I'm talking about. It certainly helps, but it's not necessary. If I ask for a subtopic or something like that, I appreciate that as well. Derek Jackson, I appreciate it. Thank you for all the ones not affected by the low vibration negative frequency that is manipulating the masses. And a lot of people will label that kind of stuff as low vibration. A lot of people refer to that negative energy that way. I don't, I can jive with that. Azery Saint, the Wi-Fi called Netgear always shows up after I move somewhere. Like I look up Wi-Fi when I'm interested in a place. It's not the area, but the day I move in, it's there. Wow, that's another one of those amazing coincidences, huh? Yeah. Rebecca Trent. Yep. I never let them get me anymore. I know that's what they want to upset me, scare you, and I'm a hard-headed person, so I'm cool as a cucumber. Yeah, yeah, that's what you got to do, man. You got to realize they want to get under your skin. You have to realize that the goal is to hijack your attention, to get in your head, to control the trajectory of your thoughts. It's like I was talking about in the live stream yesterday and several other times that you can either have a really bad day and they're coming in just to, put the final straw in the back, or they're coming in on a good day because they want to steal your joy. They want to take away your peace, and they should be ignored. Okay, I've heard a lot of people talk about that. You got to ignore the gang stalkers. You got to, and you do, you do. You have to realize though that these things are not legitimate. Okay, I see a lot of people sporting things on their shirts or on their license plates or tattoos or whatever. This would be something you could write down. Okay. You could write it down on something so you can remember that every time you get up in the morning as a targeted individual, that a lot of the things that you are going to be dealing with are not legitimate. Okay. They're simply to manipulate you, period. Let's go in here and take a look. It's spiritual attacks, says Pamela. Absolutely. Okay. It's truly energy vampirism, Techno Kid says. If there's such a thing, it does seem to be the point. Absolutely, man. That's there. It's definitely part of it. Pamela agrees. Huh. Okay. Angela, hi. Okay, let's see what we got. Yeah, we're gonna be dealing with this. Greetings from Alberta, Sons of Thunder. Welcome to the live stream. Okay. Uh-oh. Tasha says, I'm always upset. Well, that sucks, honey. Hopefully that will change. And what do we got here? Techno Kid says, has anyone noticed something is changing? Maybe I am being deceived. I'm speaking of everything we're all going through. And then it says, whose patterns are so similar. I've noticed that the tides are turning. Well, we're headed into that. And, that is part of moving through the salient landscape, which we have in front of us all the time, not just as targets, but everything. And everything is changing. And you have to recognize that there is an agenda, period. Okay. And, it's primitive ultimately deception, destruction, condemnation, internalization, and manipulation. It's tyranny, period. And for the targeted individual, it involves torture and very coercive forms of manipulation. Yeah, City of Fullerton gang stalking. Welcome to the live stream. Okay, let's get back into what I was talking about. All right. So You have this medium, this menagerie that is created around the target. And like I said, in order to have maximum effect, the right characters must be used, the right environment must be created. Okay. And it's the people that are closest to you that are going to be used. It is your family members. Okay. People that are close. It's a familial enemy that really goes at that. For me, this is absolute 100% proof of the spiritual involvement in gang stalking when family members are turned against each other, when husband and wife, when relatives, when close friends are turned against each other. That goes straight to the heart. That is the essence of manipulation and emotional tyranny. You want something to get under your skin when, and you know what happens when we become emotional and all that. What happens to me? A lot of times I get out of control. Okay. I can make mistakes. I can say things that I will regret. I will do things that that I wouldn't normally do. And they know that. Okay. And not only that, targets are being pushed in a lot of areas, and that atmospheric pressure that is around the target is increasing. Okay, that's what they want. When targets are hit, when they are traumatized, when all these things start happening to them, when their life turns upside down, when all the stops are pulled out and every area is infiltrated, when people experience gang stalking, there's frustration, there's anger. Okay, you can become disillusioned, you can become confused. A lot of things are going to happen to targets. Okay. And, they want to use that. They want to maximize on that. Excuse me, hold on. And they have to do that. Why else would they create this atmosphere around the target? And they're certainly not going to waste that. Okay. They're not going to waste it. They have a plan. They have an agenda. It is a primitive equation. You can see what they're doing. You can see the motive. You can see the methodology. And when it comes to the family whole, the familial scenario, that's classic. A lot of targets are confused about that. A lot of people talk about going no contact. A lot of people, they get caught in horrible fights with family members. A lot of times it can lead to people losing their children. It can lead to divorce. It can lead to substance abuse. And then you mix all that stuff together and horrible things can happen. And that goes to the internalization of the equation. Okay. And there you are. Because targets get put in that place. And all too often, you can see, how quickly it can happen. Because, when I talk about the dysfunction that targets experience when they get harassed, they become paranoid, they become fearful, they become confused, they become anxious, and they can even get into a psychosis. But in the process of that, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to read into things. They're going to get angry. They're going to screw up. Okay. And then comes the accusation, right? And then what? Well, if you're being gaslighted and you buy into this whole thing, well, you start to internalize that, don't you? It just depends on how long it goes on. It just, it depends on what you're dealing with. And you start to loathe. You start to internalize whatever those things are. I screwed up. And then there they are with the game dynamic. We got you. We got you. And then, of course, now the ego is involved, and the game dynamic is used, and that just triggers your emotions even more. And there you are. And when it comes to the familial enemy, when it comes to those close scenarios where the target is dealing with people that they love, that they care about, and so, oh man, look what I've done, and they're laughing. They love it. That is what they do. That is their job. That's the modus operandi of gang stalking, because, ultimately they want to gaslight you. Ultimately, They want you to look in the mirror and see yourself the way that they have been accusing you all this time, whatever you're dealing with, whether you're a failure, a freak, you know, you just don't measure up, you're a second-class citizen, whatever. And they will use that to try to justify what they're doing. They'll even set you up. And they'll set up those scenarios. Well, now, oh, no, you did it now. You did it to yourself. You did. But you didn't. And I've referenced that many times. You have to remember not only to be aware of these things, not only to be aware that these things are not legitimate, that the people around you that you care about, they're not, don't look at them always as just perps or whatever. I mean, some of these people obviously have made the decision to do this and they've failed. I'm not making excuses for anybody, but they are being manipulated, and one day they will regret these things. One day they are going to look back at all these things and they are going to cry. They are going to weep and loathe, and they're going to feel horrible about these things. And they're going to see the mistake that they've made, and you have to realize that they've also been hijacked. Okay? And yes, they have a responsibility. I'm not saying you have to feel sorry for these people. I'm saying that in this equation that you were dealing with the fundamental reality of the spiritual foundations of what you're dealing with, there is the axiom. And many of those axioms are something that we deal with in our own life, and that if we're going to forgive ourselves, we have to be ready to forgive other people as well. And part of the medium that is created in the familial scenario where people are being manipulated and turned against each other is that's that situation to where now the accusation can come from the kingdom. Well, you didn't forgive them. Okay. Well, you're saying you don't make mistakes, right? You got to be careful, because there are different tiers, there are different levels to the accusations that can come at targeted individuals. And because you are dealing with a spiritual foundation, because you are dealing with the axioms of faith, you are dealing with the axioms of the propositions that you have, all these little things involving the disinformation around you. And the fundamental reality is that if you want to be forgiven, that you want to be given a second chance or whatever, they're going to use that in the scenario, that you have to look at these things realistically and realize these people are being hijacked, to realize the illegitimacy of this scenario that you're in, the manipulation, the tactics that are being used. And it's like Pamela was talking about, you have to keep your cool, man, because if you don't, they will use that and they will push the target into whatever. It's like the mass shooting. It's like, Myron May. It's like all these other scenarios where people are provoked into doing something that is not a solution, that you can't let that happen. And you will win, because that is ultimately what they want. It is ultimately the goal of this scenario, to hijack them, to hijack you, to put on the little finger puppets. And it's just like every other war that you've read in history, depending on how legitimate it was to begin with, it turns into nothing but a big mess. And it's a bloodbath. It's a slaughter. And you don't want that. Okay. You don't want that. You move on from the family, you go into different areas with your relatives. The scenario is all encompassing: your spouse, your close relationships, your social circle, your coworkers, your neighbors, the community around you, social media, and the list goes on. And that's what they want. Okay. And they want to do that. And, isolation is it's a huge axiom of gang stalking, because the target must become the scapegoat. You must become the ultimate victim. Okay. And I've talked about this. You're bait. You're bait. Okay. You're not just the focal point. This isn't just about you. They're condemning these people that are involved in these things. Like I said, one day they're going to look back on this stuff and they are going to be very, very sorry for what they're doing. Beyond words. beyond words, people. I'm going to go back into the comments and see where we are here. Steve says he feels like he's on the Truman Show, and I've never been attacked physically or poisoned, but it looks like, whoops, the whole thing's jumping on me. But it looks like there are a lot of people involved in whatever this is. Yeah, absolutely. And that's how it's designed. Okay. And that's one of the logistical problems that targets run into is that when you just focus in on one group of people, or you only have so many options in your salient landscape, it just falls apart, and then it just plays right into the whole "you're nuts," right? "You're crazy. You're having a delusion, or you're suffering from a psychosis," and that can happen. But there's a reason why you're dysfunctional, even if you are in a psychosis, even if you are reading into things, even if you are into a place where you've become dysfunctional. It's not because you're crazy. It's not because you're mentally ill. It's because of the stress, of the pressure, of the torture, of the tyranny of gang stalking. I'm going to take a look at some more comments here, and I'm going to go back up a little bit. Well, Targeted Patton, welcome. Let's see here. Okay. Well, we were talking about some other things and some Wi-Fi and some other stuff. Okay. Rebecca says the V2K gave me a name, Fusion Centers. Whoops. I looked it up, and it was the name of the director in one of the Fusion Centers. Blew my mind. Okay, I'm not going to mention the name. First thing that popped up, Fusion Center. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to have to say this, man. You have to be very careful. Uh, you know, when you're hearing voices, when someone is experiencing either electronic harassment or whatever. I mean, it could be demonic. Okay, and that's just like the scenario where you're dealing with a type of medium, or someone who practices necromancy or soothsaying or something like that. What do? They channel the spirits, or they channel the spiritual dimension, and oh, look, it's your grandma, Sally, right? Oh no, it's her. She said that you lost your ring down in the second drawer of your hope chest, and you've been looking for it for 5 years, and lo and behold, there it is. Oh my goodness, it's got to be good old grandma or whatever, but it's not. Okay, and you have to be careful. Demons are very tricky, and to assume that a fusion center is after you because you heard a voice say something that was actually confirmed with evidence doesn't necessarily mean that. I mean, that would kind of work against the whole idea of electronic harassment being government. If they're handing out names of their own employees and stuff, that would kind of go against the idea that's it's really going on, because technically a lot of people wants they're trying to pretend like they're demons and stuff, and it's really just a script. And but for them to come out and say, hey man, this is the director, and yeah, this is weird. I'm one of those whistleblowers, but I'm talking into your head right now. I don't know, I would be careful of that one, honey, but you know what, I'll let you decide. Well, let's see here. Okay. Okay. All right. So we've got Ernie. Welcome to the live stream. V2K is conditioning, programming a person to adhere to trigger words. Yeah, it can be used for a lot of things. Not only that, it's annoying. Oh gosh, and they want to. It's definitely to reprogram your brain. They want it regurgitating around in there, and it's a type of thought process. And I've talked about the fact that when you're dealing with, even if it's demonic or whether it's, electronic or whatever, answering back and following that train of thought feeds into it. It's anything you can do to distract yourself, anything you can do to ignore it and think about something else other than, illegal activity or something like that. I guess anything opens up too many doors. Um, But yeah, that would be a strategy to avoid it because that's what they want. They want eventually for the target to be just thinking that because it's going to bounce around in your head. It causes a type of scrupulosity. That's what happens when you deal with demons a lot. People who get a lot of intrusive thoughts will deal with that, and then it just becomes a type of kind of a way your brain thinks. You know, it's like, oh, let's go up here on the cliff and overlook the city. Wouldn't that be weird if I just jumped off it? And it's like, whoa. And if they attack a person long enough, it will like condition them in a way where their brain starts working. They don't even have to do anything, and that's a lot of the reprogramming that targets deal with. It's a lot of the modus operandi, not only of the spiritual realm, but of things. When you get into the government stuff or whatever, it's basic science, and it is used to put that type of yeast in the target's mind. It's like the video 80% that I made a long time ago. A lot of the things that we're worried about as targeted individuals probably not going to happen to us in a 24-hour period where we're worrying about it. Okay. Because when I get up in the morning, I never know what's going to happen. Okay. I try to follow protocols and I know that there's a possibility that something could happen, whatever it is. Somebody could do something to your vehicle. They could break into your house. They could attack your pets. They could try to poison you. They could do whatever. There's a million things that could happen. And out of all the possibilities that you've been conditioned and sensitized with and now are worrying about, they don't have to do it. They just want to let you sit around and wonder what's going to happen. And then as soon as you start to lax up a little bit, they'll come out and do it. And you're, oh my gosh, and it's like that. But you they are trying to hijack you and turn you into your own tormentor, right? Same thing. And it follows that theme of hijacking, right? They want to employ you to torture yourself, right? And I'm not saying that if you're worried about something or whatever, just because that now you've failed, and I'm not going there. Okay, that's their job. Never beat yourself up, and I'm certainly not going to do their work for them either. But recognizing this and seeing how people have been hijacked, and the whole goal is to turn you against yourself. You know, it's part and parcel of what you're dealing with. When you're dealing with V2K or intrusive thoughts or, scrupulosity turned into a type of self scrutiny, well, just, man, give yourself a break. Okay. Remember how you got the way you are. And also, even if you're one of those people that are, I don't know, man, I don't know, doc, I'm at the point where I think it's too late. It's not too late. Okay. I've been in all those places, and I've been in places where I thought of there's just no way I'm coming back from this. I'm going to be some kind of freak. I'm going to be too paranoid or whatever. You got to let all that stuff go. And remember that whatever happens, you were subjected to this tyranny and you didn't sign an agreement. You didn't sign a waiver of full disclosure and said, oh, I want to be a targeted individual. And, ask God for help. Don't get tired of asking. He can work these things out for your benefit. And even though it seems like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, that's not true. That's also trickery. Okay. Absolutely 100%. Ocean Size, welcome to the live stream. Let's see if we got something out there from. He likes to ask questions. I'm assuming it's a he. Good questions from Ocean Size. I'm looking for one. Okay, well, it looks like there's a dialogue out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Did you ever look up ads on Indeed for surveillance investigators? Ocean Size is asking this. It's obviously not illegal to hire people with no credentials or training to follow people, and actually says that in the job listing. Interesting. Yeah. Um, well, it isn't illegal to observe someone. There is a lot of things that I think that the targets deal with that is illegal. But I think mostly that type of surveillance is done to condition the target and get them paranoid, right? Because really, you don't need that kind of stuff. It just depends on who's doing it. If you're dealing with maybe an older individual who's not up on all the technology, or they've called maybe a private investigating firm or employed a service like that who is using people from an ad or other places that are just hiring people to do physical surveillance for a certain amount of money per hour or whatever. They're doing that because they want to make money. And also the target has to know they're being followed. It's a fear campaign. Okay, obvious surveillance is used to condition targets. Um, I mean, I've experienced it, and it was so obvious that there's no other way to explain it. When someone is looking at you and smirking, and you see them 10, 15 times a day, and you're somebody that travels, within a 20-mile radius delivering stuff like I do, and they're at every location that you go to. We'll just say out of 25 deliveries, they're at 15 of the locations that you're at, and they're not a delivery person. Is that obvious? Obviously, that would be done purposefully. I've seen that kind of thing. And when people like that are employed, it's because they want the target to see what's going on. It's a fear campaign. Let me go back up into the comments now. Sorry if I skip some stuff, guys. Like I said, I don't even have my reading glasses tonight. So let's see here. Okay. Well, I'm looking at some stuff here. Rebecca Trent says it's a mind game. I grew up in a cult full of mind games and manipulation. I immediately noticed this right away. They want exactly, oh, excuse me, they weren't exactly happy. They couldn't trick me. No, no, they want to manipulate you. You're not, your average individual. Obviously, you've been exposed to a lot of these things too. So you're up on the manipulation aspect of this, which is going to help you survive gang stalking. Absolutely. Okay. Juicy James says if targets got together and shared data, I'm sure we could solve this somehow. I've gotten close on my own. Sadly, all targets are never with another target. Yeah, well, that's true, and that's a fundamental reality of the gang stalking community. We're together now. I mean, there's 36 people in the live stream, but unless, well, of course, we've got trolls and people just watching the freak show. But assuming that we have quite a few targets, yeah, but in your community or in your immediate geographical vicinity, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of people. I don't have anybody in the area that I live in, and it's a city of over 100,000 people, and I don't really have anybody to talk about this stuff with. I'm sure that there are other people out there. And the other problem is that a lot of targets can't deal with this. Most people can't handle this kind of stuff, guys. That's another thing that you have to realize when it comes to gang stalking. There are a lot of people that we're never going to know about, that are never even going to join the targeted individual community because they're probably in mental institutions being drugged, or maybe in some facility being experimented on or something. Who knows? Because they didn't make it, or they did something else. Maybe they hurt themselves or something, or whatever, or they're just hiding and they don't know. A lot of people, they don't know what to do when their whole world is flipped upside down. And I've talked about the fact you're living in the same place you were before this started. It doesn't seem like it. You wonder if you're in another dimension or a matrix or something. But really, you just didn't know about this. And now you're seeing the reality of where you are. And that's the bonus of gang stalking, is that you have the opportunity to see the reality of the world in its raw form. Okay. The evil that is really out there, the things, that go bump in the night, so to speak, because before you were experiencing this stuff, you were, I don't know, you were in a type of primal state of realization, and you are moving in to different levels of that now. You are seeing what is out there. And if you look at this stuff properly and you process the information correctly, you're going to keep moving into that, and you're going to see the spiritual reality of where you live, and you're going to start to see that salient landscape that is manipulating the little fingers that are manipulating people. And there is an agenda, and it's, gang stalking is just one little aspect of that picture. And I've talked about that before, that as targeted individuals, you are being used to obfuscate different forms of spiritual and demonic oppression, of experimentation on citizens, of illegal activity and tyranny of secret societies and fraternal groups of the occult, and so on and so forth. Because, what's your position? Well, you're just crazy. Oh no, it's just mentally ill people. They're having a schizophrenic episode, right? They're just suffering from a type of chemical imbalance or persecutory delusion, right? Delusion of grandeur. What do you think everything's about you? What are you, nuts? Huh? Yeah, you guys. And the coercion that is used to keep people in conformity. The people that know about this stuff, there's a lot of people that you're dealing with out there as a target. What do they see when they see you? You're part of their delusion. You know that, don't you? Okay. You go against the flow, you're gonna end up like one of them. We'll drive you nuts. Huh? You want to blow the whistle, do you? Oh, you can be a targeted individual. You want a tinfoil hat? Here, I'll make you one right now. Yeah, go ahead. Say something. We need another guinea pig. No, I don't think so. It's no excuse, but that's part of their delusion. And when you see people skipping around or acting like, they're smug, or, it sucks to be you or whatever, well, that gives them that type of high. They're reinforced in the decision that they've made to join the dark side, and they're going to regret it. But that's the mechanism. That's one of the things that targets do. You're their delusion. You're their reinforcement of conformity, and you're also there to obfuscate the spiritual reality of the evil forces that are in the world, right? And there's also other things going on in the government and other things to legitimize different agendas, and maybe even eugenics. Lots of stuff. Lots of weird things going on. I'm going to go back into the comments here. Sons of Thunder says, how many of you have a connection to the military, either served or somehow in your family served? I grew up, I'm assuming you were trying to spell something else. So you grew up on a military base. Okay. Yeah. Well, a lot of times that can happen. There are people that are just in the military that have been experimented on. In fact, when you get into Frank Olson's case, if you guys, I'm sure you're all aware of Frank Olson, when they used that technique in the CIA to murder him. They pushed him out a window. Of course, they dosed him with LSD first. That guy I think his specialty was aerosolization. Some other stuff in the scientific realm as well. And I think sarin gas and some other things was where he really was picked, for the role of what he did. But he wasn't going to go along with it. And he saw, people being experimented on, and he wasn't going to go with it at all. And he was out at that point, and they didn't know what to do. So, fearing that he would become a whistleblower, they invited him up to I think it was a get together, and they dosed him with some really nasty LSD. Of course, the guy started to lose it, which is another aspect that targets are dealing with. And I wonder sometimes, listening to some of the people out there and some of the things I've experienced as well, if there aren't, very I don't know, mild, you know, I don't know, types of hallucinogenic drugs or maybe even methamphetamines that are being used on targets. People get break-ins, other things happen. You never know. You never know. Because you get into watching a lot of the videos out there, and I understand that targets can become dysfunctional and start reading into things. But different areas of the brain are activated by drugs. Okay, and I can't remember what the name of it was, but a lot of people will talk about that when it comes to methamphetamines or other drugs, to where they will assign significance to things that is just purely out of the influence of the drug, where they will see significance where there isn't any. And you combine the sensitization and conditioning that targeted individuals deal with, along with some type of covert drugging like that, and you got yourself, some pretty good helicopter videos right there. Um, but getting back into Frank Olson, they dosed him, and of course he became very dysfunctional. It's a way to discredit the guy, and then they just killed and pushed him out a window. His family ended up getting compensation, not for a long time though. But of course, those were people in the military that were being experimented on. Okay, being tested. Of course, when you get to the Nevada test site, the people were given energy badges and told to salute the explosions out there when they were testing the above ground explosions out there. And, of course, sending those badges in and tests. I mean, the horrible things that have been done not only to people in the military, but as citizens. I don't think it'd be too far to speculate whether family members could become involved in that as well. Nicholas Boserman, welcome to the live stream. He says, when I door dashed, I'd knock on the door and a stalker I saw everywhere would answer the door. Not too much later, they messed up DoorDash for me. Interesting. Yeah. Well, you just, they're everywhere. And I've talked about that. When you get into the logistics of this stuff, some of the things can be set up and some of the things are just there already. They are a mechanized, part of your atmosphere. And I've talked about how people are attacked in mass, whether you're dealing with control programming, innuendos and stuff like that, different themes that might even be in movies or on the news and stuff like that. And targets will turn on the local, news station, and it's they got to be watching me. And it seems like it because the things, the themes, the mechanisms that are used against targets are used in a way where they can be assigned to a mass of people that are subjected to that type of conditioning. Okay, that's the whole point of using themes. That's the whole point of all these things that the targeted individuals are subjected to, and the fact that they start to process information in a personal way plays into the reprogramming aspect that targeted individuals deal with. Okay, that's part and parcel of what you're dealing with. And the fact that for me, you're dealing with something that's set up and planned in advance, and you're thrown into it. So when targets are experiencing higher forms of harassment, they're dealing with all kinds of things, man. They're dealing with people who are paid. They're dealing with people who are hired, and whatever. And they're also dealing with people who are influenced demonically. And I don't. There's a lot of things that really can't be explained just by the conscious collusion and employment of handlers and harassers to stalk a victim. It's just beyond that. But it just depends on who you are. Sometimes it's a lot more simple. Okay, I'm just kind of shooting through the comments here because there's no way I'm going to be able to get to all this. Ernie says they tried to be nice at first to converse with you, to get you get more flies with honey than you do vinegar, right? And it just depends on what they're trying to do. When targets experience negative harassment, There's a reciprocity to that. There's a motive for that. And one of them is to set the target up for the other stuff. Because if you survive through all of that, then they're gonna have to get their fingers in there deeper. Okay. And infiltration, I think, is what Ernie's talking about. In order to infiltrate your life, they've got to get your trust. It's like the troll, you know, that comes in and, oh, yeah, you've helped me so much, Dr. Defacto. And, oh, yum, yum. But then they will turn on you. That's the hot and cold technique. They get into your life, right? It might even be someone who infiltrates in your workplace or whatever, or maybe even a honeypot. And then they'll start, giving you an attitude, right? It's like, oh, and they'll try to get you dependent upon them for affirmation and other things because targets are vulnerable. They'll do that, man. They will. They'll grease up to you, and you got to have that protocol. You have to realize that all these things that you are dealing with as a targeted individual, and not only that, the fact that you were in a world that is hijacked. You talk about the pride of life or the vanity that the world is subjected to. And it's like that. You're surrounded by schemers. You are surrounded by manipulators, even if you're not a target. They're raised that way. You know, they're constantly comparing themselves to other people. Every life is like a competition, right? And you get in the way and it's over. And you have to remember who you're dealing with. And you also have to remember that, when God gets into someone's life, he can work these things out for them. And he has the ability to change people into, something significant in the sense where they are capable of breaking free of all this hijacked manipulation and, the fundamental system of perception that an individual has is legitimate. Okay. Your capacity to love, your capacity to share or have compassion or interact and have a meaningful, relationship with someone. All those things are there. Or, a godly, meaningful sexual, relationship with a husband and wife. All those things have been hijacked. God is able to work those things out. And that's part of the process that everyone is going through. But you have to remember that the potential is always there for manipulation. And I don't know if I wouldn't say that I have the power to change anyone. And when people grease up to you or they get, in your life or become part of your salient landscape, you have to remember the potential is always there. And if you let it get to you, if you let that hot and cold technique, if you let them start giving you an attitude and you become emotional, well, they're in your head, right? And they will be nice to you just to get in there, just so they can play with you. Okay. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. Ernie says, and no one could just be honest. Yeah. And the world is set up that way. You know, it's like the dilemma that targets deal with. Oh, what are you so paranoid about? You're in a group of 15 people. Well, and it's not like you can just start talking about it. You can't just start telling people what's happening. Some people do that and they regret it. I've talked about that before that, you start blabbing your mouth about this stuff, man, you're going to look nuts. Trying to explain this, especially in a group setting, is you setting yourself up. But you have to act. And people are raised in that way where everybody's just acting. They're putting on airs, they're trying to be somebody that they're not because they're constantly being subjected by the spiritual dimension to negative stimuli, to intrusive thoughts, to other things. Oh, what are you thinking about? Oh, nothing. Or you lie and you don't dare reveal some of the things that have been popping into your mind because people think you're crazy. But it's something that everybody deals with, but you learn to just pretend like it's not there. You can't be honest about it. There's a value to having a filter for all this stuff. You got to filter it, man. reconciled. Welcome to the live stream. If God is in charge, why would the most evil in society gain the most powerful, famous, rich in society be the most evil? Why would God do this unless it is a test, a difficult test, yet still a test? Well, that's a good point. I would say that God is not doing it. And the whole straw man that is created with that, if God is in charge or God is in control, it's like when you get into Calvinism or some other form of cognitive dissonant monergism. God is sovereign, so God must be the one doing it. Well, no, he has the free will and the choice and the privilege to let things work out naturally in the parameters of his creation, which he has sovereignly created. Okay, he's created the possibilities and impossibilities and the cause and effect of free moral agency. Okay, and he has also handed the world over temporarily, within the parameters that he has decided to Satan and his angels and the principalities and powers, and they are doing what they do. The God of this world, in other words, is different than the God of everything. Okay, because right now, Satan, he's got his kingdom and so on and so forth. And so when you see the prosperity of the wicked illustrated in Psalm 73, my heart almost failed when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Their children are, healthy. They're not afflicted. Their crops are good, and so on and so forth. And then he went into the house of the Lord and saw the end of these people. They live long lives. They seem to get away with everything. It's like gangstalking. They seem to prosper. Is God sovereign? Yeah, he's sovereign. Is he doing this? No. And he has subjected the world, his creation, to futility in hope that it would submit to him and be set free from the tyranny and bondage of this present tyranny, of this present kingdom of the flesh, of vanity, and so on and so forth. People have to experience that. They have to see what it is. They have to know the fundamental reality of this. And this is a testing ground, absolutely, but it's also a way to really understand why God should be in charge. Because right now he's allowing the devil to do these things. When Christ sets up his kingdom, it's not going to be like that. So if God is in charge, well, God has handed over the world to them temporarily. He disinherited the nations, Deuteronomy 32:8, according to the sons of God, according to their number in the ESV and in the Dead Sea Scrolls, in the Septuagint, not in the Masoretic text. Israel didn't exist. So yeah, you are dealing with the tyranny of the kingdom of darkness. And you're gonna see that all the people out there. It's like God. Oh, you really blessed this person. Yeah, I'm blessed. I've got all these things, but they don't know God. They don't know the truth of that. And when you see a lot of people out there who they have no idea who God is, or they care less, couldn't care less of what he believes or what he thinks, but they still have all those things. What does that tell you? That's not the blessings that come from God. Okay. And he is allowing this. It's just like the apostles. They were persecuted unto death. Okay. They weren't rich. This is not the Abrahamic covenant in the sense you're not under Levitical law, right? You're not in Deuteronomy that if you keep the Day of Atonement and adhere to the 10 Commandments and 613 laws of the Old Testament, that you're going to be living in a land of milk and honey. Okay, that's over. Okay, we're in a different covenant now, and you're in the you're in the world. You're not of the world, in the sense that you're not part of their kingdom. And for targeted individuals experiencing this tyranny, you're in the rawest sense experiencing that reality. All right. And the people out there that are not playing the game of faith or playing the game the targeted individuals in, well, they got all that stuff. They're not worried about that. But did God give it to them? No, he didn't. The God of this world did, though. And when the gang stalkers seem to be getting away with this stuff, when it seems like their life is blessed, remember this. If they were really that happy, if all that stuff that they had, whatever you're looking at, was really all that, would they be messing with you? Would they take time out of their schedule of all this enjoyable stuff and wonderful blessings that they've gotten from conforming to the God of this world and to the system to mess with you if it was really all that? No, they wouldn't. It's obvious that they're miserable, right? The happy people don't do that. Happy people don't gang stalk, right? They don't go out of their way to ruin someone's day or throw them into a spiral of depression and anxiety. They want to be happy. They want to do good things for people. That's normal. The obvious discontentment and rot that is in their innermost being is obvious at that point, and it eventually works its way out like gangrene. Okay, let's get into the comments again. Okay. All right. Anybody have any subtopics or anything to add to this? Well, let's see. Nicholas Bosmerman's got something here. The guy who gave me the drugs actually leveled with me once, and he said, I feel sorry for you, but I can't stop it. I wish I could. Yeah. People are doing they're doing the dark kingdom's work, and they're not fulfilled. It does not satisfy, and their work is never over. It's proof. When people experience this kind of thing, when you get comments like that Nicholas Bosman was talking about, I've got to do this, or I'm sorry I have to do this, or I wish this could be different, or whatever. Right? Well, some of that stuff is street theater, but some of it's real. Okay, and you got to know, the reality behind that. Even if they're not victims of gang stalking, even if it seems like they're prospering, it's obviously not the case. Okay. All right, let's see here. Changes asks me, Doctor, have you ever thought about fasting? I fast every day. Um, I mean, it depends on what you mean by that. I mean, there's intermittent fasting and there's other types of fasting. There's water fasting. There's controlled fasting where you eat broth or something else, or you can just, live a lifestyle of where you're not constantly eating. When I lost all this weight, I fasted from meat and I ate only vegetables for a couple months. I got pretty weak though. I realized that if you're going to do the vegetarian thing, you got to know what you're doing, man. You can't just go out there and get some spinach and some nuts or whatever. In fact, that was part of the reason I got kidney stones, is I was eating a lot of nuts, and that is a lot of oxalate in those, a lot of them. But I did. I went out and I ate a lot of veggies. I lost, 50, 60 pounds, man. And I was starving myself. A lot of rapid weight loss. And I only eat twice a day. So technically, you're looking at quite a bit of time, at least 12 hours between meals. Most people, they'll eat 3 times a day and they'll eat every 4 to 6 hours, or they'll munch on something, or they'll have a soda or whatever. There's a lot of different types of fasting. And that can be good for your metabolism. It can help out, your blood sugar and all that. It just depends on what you're dealing with. You got to know what your health is. Like I've said before, I'm not a doctor, but that can be healthy. And it just depends on what's going on. I wouldn't consider it a solution for any. There's a lot of people that will teach that if you've got a health problem, or that if you got a spiritual problem, that you got to fast. And some of that could be from the enemy, because people are already weak. They are already demoralized, and you throw in some deprivation on top of that, and you can throw everything off to the point where people can be in a very vulnerable position. I've seen that before. Well, I want my friend to be healed, so I'm gonna fast for a week. Well, you need to think about, there's nothing wrong with fasting. Okay, nothing wrong with that. But the thing you got to remember is that you got to balance it out with wisdom. Okay, you're not twisting God's arm. It might not be a good idea for someone who's a targeted individual to fast. And well, I'm going to fast until this stops. I've seen people do stuff like that. I'm going to fast until I get an answer. God loves you. Okay. He cares about you. In the Bible, there's fasting. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to be wise about what you're doing. And if you're in a vulnerable state, if you're being tortured as a targeted individual, if you're not eating right already, you got to keep, logic in mind. Okay. There's a time for everything. There's a time for fasting. There's a time for whatever. And you have to be careful when you do that. But it can definitely be beneficial. But do your homework and don't turn it into some type of magic solution, because there isn't one. Never will be. Rise to power. Welcome to the live stream. Okay. Targeted Pat says there is no doubt people knowingly doing this to us. Absolutely. Something to keep in mind. This very purposeful activity. You're not experiencing something that is anomaletic. You are not experiencing something that is just, come upon you mistakenly, or that you have wandered into this trajectory that you're dealing with. This is purposeful. It's set up in advance. It's a mechanism to drive people crazy, to obfuscate the spiritual reality of where you are, to legitimize things like psychiatry, to use torture like this to silence whistleblowers, to shut up people who would go against the social pressures of whatever. It's there, and it's an agenda, and it is very purposeful. Okay. Well, anyway, I tried to kind of go in there and look at the comments. Oh, hi there. Yes, you came over to see me. A little kitty came over. She wants to be part of the live stream again. Yeah. Okay. Yes. All right. Lay down. Okay. All right. Well, we've looked at several things. And like I said before, King Vampire Chris asked me what to do. And I told him that I would do a live stream. Any of you guys ever have problems or have any questions or ideas for a video, put them in the comments. I definitely will address those things if I can. I don't know everything. I know what I know. We talked about the infiltration, invasion, the gaslighting, the atmospheric, environmental maximization of manipulation, going into different techniques, turning the target into a scapegoat, using accusation gaslighting, using different, extremes to manipulate the target, emotional extremes, hot and cold, stonewalling them, using correlation techniques. And the spiritual dimension does that too. They will use stimuli to manipulate people against you and correlate scenarios and stimuli from your environment to form propositions, not only in the minds of the victim, but of the people involved. There's the vampire aspect of this. People are definitely, feeding on these things. The principles that are used are there for you to internalize this stuff. Okay, they want you to take the blame for everything that is going wrong in your life and to forget how this stuff started. They want to create a medium where they can manipulate you into taking responsibility for the dysfunction of all the things that are causing you to go into that downward spiral, whatever you're dealing with. They want to integrate people around you, and they want to turn people against you. They want to create that menagerie, that salient landscape that can be used, those characters that are involved. And the maximum effect is usually gained by people that are closer. You'll have the familial enemy, people in your family. They want to turn those people against each other for maximum effect. They want relatives involved. They want your spouse involved. They want your children involved. They want your social circle involved. They want coworkers involved, neighbors. They want the community to be attacking the target. Okay. And they will use these things to assault the mind, and all the things that you're trying to accomplish are to be hindered, and the reality of these things is to be obfuscated. Okay. And it's an all-out assault on targeted individuals, and to get you to form propositions based on this atmospheric tyranny, and to push you into a place where you do something that you regret, that you start to react emotionally, and feel like you're betraying yourself or betraying the people that are closest to you. They want you to internalize this. They want to condemn you. They want to reprogram you. They want you to engage in criticizing yourself. They want you depressed. They want you hopeless. They want you angry. They want you in some type of emotional state that they are in control of, that they can direct you around and turn you into their little finger puppet. Let's see what else is out there. Okay. Well, it looks like you guys are in a bit of a dialogue. Hopefully, I addressed the issues that are going to be relevant for people like King Vampire Chris. And, like I said, I think all of us are dealing with those things. There are people who have had their children taken away. There are people who have been pushed into reacting, maybe even violently, towards people that they love or care about. And the ultimate goal is to get you to feel bad about that. And it follows the axioms. And in my, of that spiritual agenda, okay, which for me is proof that there is a demonic motive in this, that there are spiritual foundations to gang stalking, right? They want to alter your faith. They want you to form false propositions. They want to deceive you. They want you to do horrible things. They want to destroy you. Okay. They want you to be condemned ultimately. Well, I'd like to thank all of you for participating in the live stream. And I'd like to thank everybody who supports the channel. God bless yourselves. Remember, if you have any ideas or comments for future videos or live streams, please put them in the comments section. Be good to yourselves. Be safe.